Welcome, Mini Minute fans. You're going to see that my channel is a lot different than Milo. It is more focused on motion graphics, random things, making art. It's a little bit crappy, not as much production, because I feel like I'm going to be talking to people who are also in the art space and that we can forgive a little bit of rough edges. I'll have a lot of rough edges and I'm just getting more used to letting those rough edges be there. Please forgive for not having tons of motion graphics on everything. It's just me. And this video is already going to be pretty long. I know that I talk a little bit slow, so maybe put it on 1.25 or 1.5 speed and just vibe with me. But again, this is an overview. This is some insights. This is just a peek into Cale. Thanks for checking it out. I will try to do a timestamp for all the questions, but I've tried to respond to every question in such a way that it has the information, so you don't really need to read the question. Sorry, I'm not giving credit to who asked the question specifically, but there's a lot of overlapping questions, and it's structured more so just so you can hear someone who works with Milo take a peek into my brain, open my brain up. Maybe you'll learn something. I think everyone, even if you know about video production or art or all these things that I've talked about in Milo's 3 million cut, you should be able to get something out of this. It should be informative. It should be interesting. Now, some of these answers, you may have heard part of them before in the other cut. Just ignore it. It's okay. That's condensed. These are more extrapolated, longer answers, so there should be a lot more information. Just be patient. And again, listen to it on fast speed. I won't be offended. I'm doing this more so to share my process with the world and to help inspire other people who might be interested in getting into motion graphics. I don't know if this might blow up. My goal is to eventually grow something that is a nice little pocket bubble family where maybe I could outsource shots or do a lecture series, build it up to the point where when Milo goes on tour and talks at a school, I can talk to the design department at that school, communicate with the animation department or other people like that, and educate that way, because there's a lot of institutional knowledge that we've built up in the short amount of time we've worked with that I think is very valuable. And I don't really want to gatekeep knowledge, gatekeep information. A lot of it is just going to be work. I've spent a lot of hours, days, months, years. I wish you could track how long you run programs on your computers. I've got tens, if not hundreds of thousands of hours in After Effects, and I'm not even that good. I'm just average. I'm just an average dude looking to inspire beginner dudes to make some cool stuff for other dudes. You let me know in the comments what you want to see, if this was useful, if I should just shut up and get on with the show. Oh, hey, it's you. Thanks for joining us. My name is Cale. I've been in the credits of a lot of videos lately. I'm listed as animator, but I do a little bit more than that. I kind of see myself somewhere between the creative lead and the art director. We are a little bit more egalitarian. We haven't broken up the rules. These are your jobs, these are your jobs. We kind of work together and try to get the job done no matter what. People are open and free to try things out if they want to. They're not bound by whatever job rule they were given when they applied for a job working with Milo, and it's been really great. I'm primarily responsible for the motion graphics, the designs and animations that are seen in the videos. I don't really work on any of the merch. I'm plenty busy working on just the videos. And everyone on the team also does a little bit of research themselves just to verify, double, triple, quadruple check, or correct anything that might come out. We still get some stuff wrong, but I think we do a pretty good job. So I usually do the designs and the animations for the titles, chapter cards, and other things like that. I've also worked really hard to develop some motion graphics templates, we call them mogurts, for the editors to use inside of the videos, so there's still a component of something moving around and it feels a little bit more alive than just a static image on the screen. I started working with Milo when he was on his last leg of recording Dark Roots, so it's been a few years now, and I came on to primarily develop a visual style in the motion graphics and maps and stuff for Dark Roots, and we've kind of just taken it from there. We've done a bunch of different projects, multiple series, multiple mini-series, some standalone episodes, starts and stops, and it's been really awesome. I like to say that I joined for Dark Roots and I stayed for the party. Now this is where you're going to see the benefit of this format, because I can take the video that you've already seen and I can start interjecting information into it, and it'll keep it a little bit more organic, it'll keep it interesting, and I'll be showing you stuff that the other people don't get to see, that Milo still hasn't even looked at, and is cool. So I talk about Dark Roots here quite a bit. I love Dark Roots. I think it's a very interesting series. I do wish that we had a little bit more in-field production quality because Milo still has that shotgun mic. Everything's been recorded for years. It's in a can, on an SD card, on a hard drive, whatever, and we can't go back to there. And that's why, maybe that's a reason why Dark Roots hasn't been picked up as much, because we know how much work it is to recreate that stuff, fix the audio, which they're still not great tools. I know everyone's like, use AI, and we try, but some of the audio is unsalvageable. So a lot has to be made up in the studio section, which gets to be hard when you have, I think there's like 40 hours of footage or something or more. There's tons. There's an absolute butt ton of footage to go through. Anyways, so for here, I want to share that I am working to redo the intro, at least for Dark Roots, and I want to do a better intro. The previous lockup is pretty good. I was happy with how that animation turned out, but there were always things that just lingered and bothered me, and since we didn't have a lot of time to remake it or tweak it or clean it, we just had to like get it done so it could be put onto the episode 1 launch date. And then these things kind of just snowball, and you keep using the same old stuff because it's done, and it's easier to use the old stuff than it is to make new stuff. I keep saying stuff, but it is a generic word to plug in whatever. In this case, it's the title lockup. I was never quite in love with this font, and that's my own fault. I can complain about it because I made it. On the other side of it, it hit so many boxes and check marks of what I wanted to do. I wanted it to be like Milo is looking into the abyss of history, sort of like the abyss of life, and that's what this background is, and it's kind of like someone who's willing to face it. The first thing I want to do on this is to redo the title, to use something like this, kind of just take the font from less gloopy to more hard-edged and rigid and strong feeling. So I think I found one that looks pretty good there, and I've started iterating with doing a little Okay, so that's kind of the direction I want to take the new version of the logo, or the 2.0, if we kickstart Dark Roots. But a lot of this is tons of decisions behind the scenes that financially I'm not really a part of. We have to make a certain amount of money on the channel, and I will do whatever work I have to do. Now let's also talk about this render. It is just a screen grab from 3D Studio Max. It's not a render, it's just a viewport capture. It looks crappy, it's not done, but I want to get stuff in and out, and it's not showing the rough edges, it's just like getting the sketch. I wanted to pull it out, I wanted to do a new audio mix, I wanted to show how it would actually be fracturing and rebuilding in more of a intricate way than the gloopy Dark Roots font as it has been, which was fine for what it was, but it just isn't what I wanted to do with it that first time based on time constraints. There's also the component where the only pictures I had of Milo that were any good in the motorcycle thing, in the motorcycle suit, was just that one. The other ones, he is so young in the face that it doesn't look like Milo anymore. But I want to get Milo on video, and I want to rotoscope or green screen, have him like putting on the jacket as he's turning around. So you can see his face, and then he turns around as he's putting on the jacket, and we go over his shoulder into the shot. So like very similar components, but I don't have the pieces yet. And it's always interesting to see what you can get your talent to do. Milo's too busy doing other videos, and we don't really have Dark Roots on the docket, so there's no sense in going and having him record this green screen stuff or direct it. But eventually I'd love to go out to where he lives, hang out with him for a week or a month or something, and start knocking off some of these long-term goals, start filming some of these long-term assets that we could use in the future, even if it's just to build up an intro once in a while. We're not used to working like that. We've done everything remotely, and it does get hard when one person has a very specific vision and somebody else is just trying to get it done in a way. And I get it. I'm flexible. I'm okay with it. But for Dark Roots, it does feel kind of like a baby of mine visually, and that's the goal. So there's a lot of holdups, but not will it be any of the holdups from like stuff that I'm creating or things that I want to do. Like I have a vision for it. I just need the pieces to help make it happen. And all that just costs money. It costs money and time, and that's unfortunate and sucks. But maybe Milo can build a little additional housing unit, and he can concurrently host an editor who's working on site with him and figuring out some of these problems. But yeah, we have goals. Some of mine are bigger than what the channel can actually approach right now. I think it's good to have ideas and concepts that are bigger than what your current skill set allows you to do. Because if an angel investor ever came by and they wanted to hear something that's very impressive, I want to have a catalog. I want to have a list of things that we are being held up by and why, and a way to show that if money was injected into the company, what we would do with it, how it would improve the visuals, how it would improve the working conditions, how it would improve technologically, how we get stuff done. There's just a lot of aspects like that that you have to be aware of and be prepared for. You have to anticipate them, and you can't just retroactively wish that you had a better thing that you said to that one person, because living like that sucks. So I'm a little bit older than most of the rest of the team, and I have a lot of experience, like 25 years of experience doing 3D motion graphics, just graphics of any sort, also fine art drawing and sculpture and stuff like that. So I'm well versed in a lot of different things, and I can use a lot of those skills that I've gathered and bring them all together to make pretty much anything that we want to within reason. One thing that people don't really know is that the production for each episode is about only 2 weeks, really. Some of them are longer productions, but most of them are 2 weeks. So we have to go through the whole pre-production, production, and post-production process in pretty much 1 week, so we can fine-tune it at that last week. It's challenging, but I think we've got a pretty good workflow going. We're always revising it, trying to improve it and make it more streamlined so people aren't stepping on each other's toes, and we can get stuff out faster and more efficiently. If you're curious about what kind of YouTube I consume, here's a list. I strongly recommend you look at Craftsman. People wanting to know my process. It's involved. It's changed over the years as well, working with Milo. We don't really have time to do designs and get them approved. I'm just designing as I make the animations themselves usually, and that's okay. That's okay. I've gotten more comfortable with working on that. My previous jobs, motion graphics is kind of a contained part of a post-production where there'd be a whole design process, a whole scripting phase, all of these other components that would be done and locked. The concepts would be agreed upon. We start fresh pretty much every video. We might have some little jokes or gags we want to aim for, or Milo might have some suggestions. Milo gives me carte blanche to do what I want, and it's been really fun to just go really hard on some shots and pull it back and reserve it for other ones. I try to do the most important requirements first, and then do at least one supplemental shot that's my own, that pushes my skills a little bit more, or I can challenge myself to learn something new and find out how much more effort it would take to go to the next level. We're still a very scrappy team, but we're very agile and we can adapt and do many things that other people can't. We're integrated, so I can work really closely with the editors to get footage or get changes and then incorporate them into the animation, like send out another update, and we can usually get updates done within one afternoon. Whereas if it's a corporate production studio, it might take up to a week for that to happen, just with the back and forth and chain of commands and approval process. So that's been really awesome. If you're curious about my process, you can go to my YouTube channel. I will post a little bit more behind the scenes on what I do. It wouldn't be set up as a tutorial, but it would be set up to show what I did on a particular job. I talk about the programs and the plugins, or the process really of what I did. I'm going to post a couple right now. One for the Ancient Aliens episode is up. It's just a live stream, but I'm working on getting an easier production process for posting videos and sharing content on my end. In addition to that first episode where I talk about Ancient Aliens episode 1, I will talk about Ancient Aliens episode 2, particularly the psychedelic face exploding scene. Again, not a tutorial, just a process documentation. After that, I plan on posting the full cut of this Q&A, my version of it, where it's only my answers for almost every question that was submitted on our Q&A sheet. We're trying to give everyone equal amounts of time. I think some people are more shy than I am, or maybe I've just caught Milo's gift of yap. But I've got over 1.5 hours of trimmed, edited, question answering goodness. So come on over to Cale Oglesby on YouTube.com. No, I'm not saying the video is going to be 1.5 hours over there, but it'll be long. It'll be wide. It'll be hard to fit in your brain. What am I playing? I'm only playing Oxygen Not Included. That's the only game. It's my favorite game. If you haven't played it, it's the colony sim where you have to take care of your duplicants. You have to give them oxygen, hence the title of the game. You have to make sure it's like clean oxygen and not other gases. You have to give them food. You have to make sure their water's clean. You have to refine and process materials, and you have to account for things like thermal conductivity and the strength of the materials themselves that you're building objects out of. It's very fun, it's very cute, and it's very challenging. It has this really awesome eureka moment built into it when you solve a puzzle and you like build a machine or a series of the machines and get it to work just right. It feels so good in your brain. It's like a beautiful hit of dopamine that other games don't really give, because most other games are about destroying things and killing things, and this one you're just like trying to survive. Aren't we all trying to survive? I mostly like Doctor Who. Some of the Doctors I'm not a fan of, so finishing that season has been a slog and I've just stopped altogether. The main problem with watching Doctor Who, though, is that whenever the Cybermen show up,
Who are they?
We are the Cybermen.
which is often, and they start stomping and marching along to attack whatever suburban district of London, I fall asleep. That metal stomping sound just puts me right to bed. It's some weird robotic lullaby. I don't understand it, but 5 seconds of a Cyberman marching, I'm asleep. I'm not narcoleptic or anything. It's just how it is. Sorry, I can't join your polycule. I'm already in one. It's like a Discord server, right? What kind of music am I listening to? Usually what I do is go down to my taskbar, right click on Windows Media Player, and hit Favorite All Music. There you go. It even has a cool little screensaver to it. Look at that. That's radical. And now I mostly just listen to Milo talking, or whatever the sound effects or music is for the video we're currently working on. It requires all eyes, all ears, and all attention focused on that one thing, so usually no listening to music in the background, unfortunately. But yes, music's important. I listen to a lot of it, but I can't do it while working. Now, some of these MP3s are older than Milo. I specialized in collecting Weezer and Radiohead B-sides or live recordings. Those are some of my favorites. My friend and I traded a Rio back and forth that had 32 megabytes of memory, which was about 6 to 8 songs, depending on how compressed you wanted to get them. But that was living large back in 1998. I specifically remember it ran on one AA battery. We didn't even have USB. You had to have a little extra connector thing through your serial port to upload MP3s to your little Walkman device. It was awesome. Milo doesn't require that we grow our hair long. It just happens to be coincidental that I have. I'm actually about 99% of the way to a hair donation to whoever needs hair. I like to get it cut and donate it away and start again. But this is one of the first jobs where I'm not ridiculed for growing my hair longer with the seasons or mocked for wearing pajama pants all day, every day. So if you want to know what I look like every day, I pretty much am just like this. I'm thinking, clicking with my right hand, and getting stuff done. And there's a little bit of typing. A lot of clicking. It wasn't really until this year or last year where I realized how everyone in their 40s and above really doesn't feel that old, and they just remember what it was like when they were young, and they don't see any difference until they look in the mirror. So the older I've gotten, the more self-conscious I've become about my round face and seeing my little earlobes sticking out like little fat slugs or something. I don't know what's going on. And also like this increasing space that's happening on my forehead. And it's technically not a 5 head because I do have only 4 fingers and it's still a forehead, but it feels large. My current obsession? Boundaries. Healthy boundaries. Not that I'm exploited or anything, but saving some time and energy for myself and my loved ones outside of work. So I'm trying to regain a little bit of my creative energy to put into projects I want to do. I think that's really important and really valuable. So I'm kind of I'm not quite obsessed with it, but I'm starting to care more about it because it is an important thing. We should all save a little space and energy for what we care about. When is Milo going to finish his studio office? We don't know, but I kind of don't really care about it. It mostly should just show you that he cares more about making videos for you guys than finishing his studio. Side note, it's very good to not really make fun of or discourage people in their personal passion projects, because it gets really hard to just build up that confidence to get out of your box and try something new. I don't think Milo's renovated a house before, and he's working on it slowly but surely. You can see some bags being filled up and removed he got that couch out of there pretty good. It's all a process, and it's not a priority for him, and that's okay. I got no problem with that. You shouldn't either. People asking, how did they make Ancient Aliens, the editors? And I'm not sure if that's our team or their team, but either way, it requires one big cup of suspension of disbelief and one giant helping of cognitive dissonance. I wish I could buy you all Legos, but I can't even afford them myself. Milo's not quite an alcoholic as much as he is addicted to sniffing the dander off his dogs and cats. Milo dresses himself, but I do have a variety of shirts and socks that I like to wear every day. This is maybe my favorite shirt. Now it's time for Milo's tagline: stay curious, stay inquisitive. In the video called Why Do You Need a Rock Sling? That's the reason why I reached out to Milo. His friendly attitude and like carefree approach to teaching material breaks down all walls and makes it so easy to learn. Watching him do that was really cool. Watching the video, how it was edited, I loved the slow-mo. Gianfranco did a really good job with that and the music, and I could see it gave me a peek into a vision of what might be possible working with a YouTuber. I had never considered that up until that point, but I was like, I think this might be a cool thing to try. Instead of cold emailing some random corporation to see if they need a video, I'm gonna email this guy on YouTube and say, hey, I do this. Would you like to do this with me? Or may I do this for you on one of your videos? And the rest is kind of history. I also really like the last quote in the video. It ain't about the size of the rock, it's about how hard you hit him with it. Some of my favorite books have always been these weird little factoid books. So Ripley's Believe It or Not, and the other one I think is Boyd's Curiosity Shop. But these books that have this huge catalog and an editor who's just like picking and choosing these factoids. And I call them factoids because they're not, I don't think they're facts. Like no one is fact checking this stuff. They're just putting it out there as entertainment because, oh, that's interesting. It's kind of like a old school Reddit or something like that. But maybe this could even be another little mini series where it's like going over old textbooks and it's like, what? That is not accurate anymore. But there's a lot of stuff from the 80s and earlier where it's, I don't know if Istanbul is using candles on turtles to light hotels anymore, but that's some of the stuff that they kind of present in it. People ask, do I have a secret folder of Milo images? Of course I do. The funniest thing to me was when Milo was doing a closing for a video and he kept restarting one sentence over and over, and it just felt so real. It ended up as a B-roll outtake. He's just a dude. He's just a normal person. None of us have superpowers. We're just trying to package stuff into a more professional and produced content thing. Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Someone asks, what is the most annoying thing that Milo does? What's the most cool thing he does? All right, so it's really awesome that Milo trusts us as much as he does. I imagine he's like this with everyone in his life, but he is very personable and friendly and trusting, and it's just cool that he trusts us with his channel to build it up, try to make it better than what he could do by himself or what was prepared before. Now, some of the other things they say, what's the most annoying thing Milo does? Milo doesn't really do anything that's annoying to me, but sometimes our deadlines get really messed up because we haven't filmed anything yet, and then we're under crunch because we don't have stuff to work on. That can be a little bit annoying, but that's fine. You just gotta take the bad with the good, and if that's as bad as it is, I'm not gonna complain. The question about what's something Milo does that might annoy you, I think one thing could be that we have sheltered him and filtered him from the process of a lot of the intricacies of getting the work done. I call it how the sausage is made. And I usually ask people like, do you want to know how the sausage is made? Do you want to know what goes into it? What what it takes to get the job done right? Because it's a lot. And for someone like Milo, they don't have to know that. He just has to make good videos, like good interesting content, and we will do the rest in a lot of ways. But he is a super capable editor. He's a great writer. He's a great presenter of information. He's a good raconteur. Raconteur? Raconteur, perhaps you say, I do not know. I want Milo's brain to be fully engaged with what he does already. He doesn't have to worry about particle systems and voxel based density meshes to make smoke on anything, or, color management of a file to get correct imports and exports consistent between machines. He doesn't have to know that crap. We'll take care of that for him. It might be cool if he did, because then we could do a little bit more. But again, I'm not going to complain. I think the more annoying thing is all the little problems that we run into, or how Adobe breaks Premiere suddenly one day and we can't work on a team project together anymore, or how Cloudflare goes down and we can't do anything. It really shows the enshittification of technology and how production studios or anybody who does anything on the internet is going to be hamstrung if we ever lose access to the internet. Everything breaks, and that's annoying. It's annoying when everything breaks. It's annoying when things don't work. Oh, maybe the most annoying thing is that Milo has the slowest internet out of all of us. I have two favorite parts to the production process. I love it after SJ gets the studio sections from Milo and starts to actually define the scope of the video. So then we know for sure what the content is, the duration of some of the shots. We can start chopping it up into, bite-sized pieces for us to work on. So that's when I actually know what I'm going to be doing. For example, with maps, it lets me know where we're going to start, where we're going to go next, and where we're going to end up. Otherwise, sometimes the maps can feel a little bit hazy to me when I see them on shows, because they're kind of just focusing on chunks and it doesn't tell the whole story. So with the maps that I'm making, I'm super grateful that Milo gives me the leverage, and the team has the understanding of how much better it is when you know chronologically in the video what is going to be shown and how to show it tastefully and clearly to the audience, because it can get confusing really quickly. I think having these animated maps is really worth their production time, because showing them where things happen and the distances between them, kind of the time, it gives a broader scope. It helps fill out the scene, and it feels much bigger than it actually is. If it was a static map with like a star that just said Ohio, we can show Ohio. We can show how large Ohio is. We can show where it's oriented in the greater United States, the Great Lakes, just get that information out visually. I think it helps also cement the idea in people's brain, which is one of my big things. My second favorite part is just seeing it when it's done. I know that's a lame answer. I like seeing how the pieces come together to make it better than just the rough cut, how it's always been an improvement. There's always been a positive add to it. Also, tuning in for the live streams is so much fun. I've decided that I'm going to start throwing in some super chats to get maybe a live poll or something like that, to get some questions answered about what people like or dislike. People really loved SJ's Crash Out. It was very hilarious. It was very appropriate. It was very good. And I want to do more stuff like that. I want to start getting a pulse on the community and incorporating some of those notes, changes, and feedback into future videos. What ancient tool or piece of art do you like? The Antikythera mechanism, I think, is very interesting. I don't even know how to say it, let alone what the hell it did. People say that they know, and some people probably do, but I still think it's super interesting to see this very complicated machine that someone had built that we fully don't have the understanding of how they built it. Well, I don't even know. Maybe they've solved it by now, but I think some of these artifacts are exactly what leads to a lot of misinformation, is that people start to answer these questions. I do think it's interesting to speculate and question. It's like, oh, how did they make this? How were they smart enough to understand this? What X to Y, the process of the whole decision tree, I think is super, super interesting. I also think it's kind of interesting that scholars and people in academia just don't accept being able to say, I don't know. I don't know a lot of stuff. I do want to try to give some guesses out there though, and I do apologize if they're ever wrong or too speculative. I do understand the dangers of doing that, but I do know that humans have been as smart as we currently are right now for a long, long time, and we've been making stuff this whole era of humans to make our lives easier, to do a job better, and that there is a reason why these things exist. Just like those spiky hole balls from Rome, a lot of people speculate and postulate what those are, but they're so common, there's so many of them, and they don't seem too fancy or expensive. There's a different variety, but people still don't know exactly what those are for. Maybe that'll be solved in the next couple of years, but I do think that's interesting that humans have just forgotten such a common thing. It's kind of like when you go to Reddit and there's a thread about what is this thing, and people just start showing these old tools that we used to use, we used to sell and buy. We generally don't need them anymore because that part of home life has been replaced by something else, or it's totally removed. We don't have a coal cellar anymore. So a lot of people are like, why is there this chute in my house? And it's like, oh, well, that's where they dropped coal so they wouldn't have to come through your house with the filthy black rock. Okay, here's another one. What is your unanimously best advice? That's a hard question to answer. I don't know if I'm going to be looking too much into it. But For me, the best advice that you can get is the advice that speaks to you. So, kind of looking for people who are saying things, but then also not being so rigid that you always believe that the rest of your life, because your opinions can change, their opinions can change, and you do not want to be beholden to something that the younger version of you or a factually incorrect version of another person is spouting off because it sounded appealing to begin with. I'm of the opinion that one advice quip should not define who you are. You should let it be a huge like wall of them. Like it should be a constant stream of new ones, and keep changing your opinions, keep changing who you are and who you want to be, and redefining those things, because people can change. You can change from one year to another year, one decade to another, or even day to day. Like it doesn't have to be a huge time span. That's going to be some of my general advice. I want to talk about how advice kind of works, and I think it's interesting how one little collection of sentences can get cemented in someone's brain so strongly. I think that's advice that you could find more of probably, and that it's speaking to you for many reasons, and understanding the reasons why that advice speaks to you so strongly is one of the bigger things to start to unravel, I think. Okay, so for me, here's a quote that I just learned recently. I hadn't heard it, or maybe I had heard it, but it didn't stick with me until I was ready for it or something, I don't know. But a man who works with his hands is a laborer. A man who works with his hands and his brain is a craftsman. But a man who works with his hands and his brain and his heart is an artist. Some might say that's not profound. That's obvious. You're stating the obvious. But I think maybe this advice comes from where you can see your progression through the years of your efforts in life. And professionally, yes, I've seen myself as a laborer. I've tried to move out of that and not just be a worker bee. I want to have more leeway and say so in what I'm making and why. And I really feel like that has happened here at Miniminuteman, which has been awesome. And I'm super grateful for it because I've moved beyond just working with my hands. I am every day working with my hands, my brain, and my heart, because I really, really care. I really want to distill the points and the main takeaways for the videos so it's easy to digest. It's visually clear. The information or takeaway is never hazy on the sections that I'm working on. I want it to be very, very specific, clear, dialed in, professional, and complete. I see myself as making art. It's video art done through archaeology for a chill dude on YouTube. And I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome. It's been one of my goals my whole life. So this quote, it's been attributed to Louis Nizer, also to St. Thomas Assisi. That's the name that was on the quote when I first saw it in a movie or a show or something like that. But that was really, really lovely. Okay, the other advice I'll say is pretty much the same time that I started working with Milo, this little meme popped up on Reddit where it just says, "Get in, loser. We're falling in love with life again." I don't know if this was before or after I reached out to him. Maybe it was even the same night. Imagine this is the night that I cold emailed him, and this helped inspire me to do so. I don't know if I'm the loser or what. I think it's just life is saying, "Hey, man, whatever failures you think you've had, like maybe you feel like you're only the laborer right now. Like, let life take you to the next place. Like, keep going. Don't give up. Don't stop. Keep practicing, keep teaching, keep learning, and let yourself fall in love with life again." It's easy to not be in love with life, to hate it, and to hate some people's lives and what they're actively doing. But search for the ones that you love. Like, hopefully, you love what we make. That's why anybody who's watching still, it's because you love the videos that we make. You love Milo's personality. And I think it goes a long way to falling in love with life again. Another side point is that many people who are in videos and graphics might look at the work that we do and say, "Oh, I could do better," or "These are errors and these are problems." And I understand that. I used to do that as well. And it's a good thing to practice your critical eye and see where problems are and where area is to improve on. There's a difference between having 2 weeks to work on one shot versus having 2 days or 2 hours. A lot of the times you just have to take a deep breath, do your best with the time you have. Sometimes I have to take a deep breath, know my limits, know the time available, the content required, and just do as best as I can with that. The ultimate goal is to inform as many people as we can with good quality information. And if we're pixel peeping every little step, we'll never get anything done. We've reached a good middle ground where we can ship stuff out, it looks decent, It sells the story. It does better than what I could do 10 years ago myself. And then maybe one day, if some billionaire comes down in their private helicopter, lands on Milo's little shitty farm, and says, I want to fund Dark Roots the Movies trilogy. But this is like the cold call to the universe. I cold emailed Milo about a job, and I feel like together we're cold emailing the universe. We're cold messaging the universe to say, this is what we want. This is what we're doing. If people want to help us do it, that would be great. But for now, it's us on this little ship. We're charting the coastline and mapping things out and making things work so we can have a really robust collaboration moving forward. That's the true. All right. Do you have any topics that you want Milo to cover? This is an awesome question and really good because I think this is something that I keep bringing up. Well, we could continue to do other series. I've mentioned a few, but I'm gonna list mine out and kind of extrapolate on what would be cool about them. Hopefully, I don't get too wordy. I thought Milo could do a really awesome series on creation myths around the world. The different little regions and pockets of people, like what they start to believe in and worship and hold super important in their culture, and which is why they have stories about them. It's why they have art about animals or things. I also think it'd be cool to look historically and connect it to like maybe some geological incidents that happen, like either a volcano happening or a flood, like these historical things that are in the permanent record, but they're kind of hazy with the myth and the mythologies that have been told over the years. Because a lot of these aspects have been around longer than the written language, really. It's just a story that you tell around the fire, perhaps. It would be cool because I see that that's kind of what we're doing. The little campfires are screens, and we're telling you guys stories. I've told Milo about this one before. You could have it called Ancient Arsenal or Ancient Armory. And this is a harken back to his slingshot video where we could go and research and do a little bit of in the field preparation of these things where we could make different weapons and like use them, and then we could talk about the geometry and the benefits of throwing with a spear thrower or atlatl, like whatever we want to call it. We could have Milo do all these things, carve these things, build these things, fail and succeed. And I think it would be really awesome to connect with some indigenous people that are still around, still practicing those crafts. Talk about smaller regions, just like how people thrived in areas. I think this series could also talk about like clothing and the establishment of separate spaces, like inside and dwellings and stuff, like processing hides to make clothes or bedding or fabrics to stay warmer, agriculture to grow food, and all this stuff to increase the quality of food to help our brains get bigger with the next generation. Even though like that wasn't the goal, but that's kind of what happened. But I think there's a lot of interesting stories to tell and perhaps different stories to retell. But stories told through Milo's eyes because he does a really good job of presenting this information, I feel. Okay, I think a series on ancient food would be really interesting. Maybe it's a team up with Tasting History with Max Miller. Look at these videos. Baking shepherd's pie from an 1894 recipe. That was a good one. Making school cafeteria pizza from the 80s or 90s. How to make real Victorian sugar plums. That'd be a cool collab. We could prepare foods with some traditional people who are still around again. Like, I don't know about you, but I would love to see Milo try to create some pemmican and then eat it and enjoy it with a straight face, or maybe make some biltong and see if he can succeed at it, or it goes all moldy and goes bad. I think it would be really interesting to just see the struggle and appreciate how much we take for granted every day in our absolutely technological dominated world where everything is just like a drive through away or whatever. One other mini doc that we could do is I live in Nebraska, and there's a place called Ashfall, Nebraska, where there was a big watering hole, and there's a lot of old mammals that would, collect here and drink water. But they have been perfectly preserved in this watering hole after a huge volcano erupted and the ash buried them. But they're excavating this site actively. They've been doing it for, I think, 40 to 50 years. Like, it's pretty well preserved, and it tells a story that's very different from the plains. There's not a whole lot of active examples of the dinosaurs that used to live here. They used to roam this part of the planet. The large mammals that happened hundreds of thousands of years later. Like, it's a really cool story to tell and to talk about. And maybe you could lean into it being scary at the end, how like at any second there could be another volcano that's going to bury us all, and what's our watering hole going to be like. And it would also be like a connection to the Pompeii episode, where that's an example of humans being buried, and a couple little threads to pull that are interesting and explain them. Or in my mind, I still have this thing where the animals are drinking out of the water, and then one looks up and they just see this giant plume rising and coming toward them, and then eventually crashing down, and then kind of start the story where we're talking about uncovering this history that everyone flyover state. Another series could just be something like the flip of the coin or the snowball effect, where history has been at a fork in the road many times, and we've gone down one fork after another to end up where we are. And it might be cool to kind of talk about some of these forks where we almost had a different capital of the United States in a different state, a different city, things like that. The railroad going through a different city has totally changed the population hubs of the Midwest. These are the ones that I know because that's where I'm from. But I think telling those different regions might be a very interesting story to tell. All right, this one I'm going to read a little bit off the screen. Rafi Verajo 4105, thank you for your question, comments about how the videos look, the pop-up cards, the styles, aesthetic choices, and design philosophy. It's a good question. This is one where I could spend 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours talking about it forever and ever, and I hope to do that a little bit more again on my channel. So I kind of see it as Milo himself and the previous editors kind of established a lot of groundwork to build off of, using specific fonts and colors and stuff. Lately, we've been circling back to that. We're not bound by that. We are open to do whatever we want. Milo's really awesome. He's trusting in what we're going to make for him. He knows that we all have a very similar vision and goal for the videos. So that's been really, really cool. It's been really good just to be trusted like that, because it's his whole company, his whole channel, his whole vibe, and I'm here trying to build it up and make it better. Maybe a simpler answer to that question is a lot of it is me. Like, a lot of those choices were made by me, where we kind of identified some stuff that we could template out and have them set up. This is where the Mogerts and things for the photographs and caption cards and corrections, things like that, are able to be designed once and used again and again. They're able to be modified, and there's a lot of controls in there that I built. But yes, a lot of that is me. All right, I'm at the part where I'm editing. When I talk about a lot of the design is done by me, I'm saying that because I know how much hard work I've put into Milo's channel and how much work I put into every project my hands come across, how much brain power, energy, time, love, and care. Some people might hear that I did everything. I did not do everything. This is more of a collaborative thing. There have been other artists that have worked on this. They've done a good job. We've had conversations about what works and what doesn't. My primary focus is to work on the visuals for the video, which is the backbone of Milo's brand, in my opinion. So there's certain things that I have not worked on that I would have loved to work on and would love to work on. Like, I'd like to make some t-shirts, I'd like to make some posters, I'd like to make some postcards or do a small series of these graphics. And we're having continuing conversations on that. As an artist, sometimes I get a little bit sensitive, and I don't want to generalize and lump everybody into it. It's okay to be sensitive. We put our hearts and souls onto paper, onto whatever we're working on. And sometimes when you hear feedback that you don't want to hear, if it's a critique, if you're iced out of a conversation, it can sting a little bit. And if it stings, it means you probably care, and that's why. And it can be a good thing, but we have to be careful and we have to be gentle to each other a little bit more. I'm working on this. I know I haven't been the best, and I apologize. I deeply apologize for that if you feel like I've crossed you, or everything has been to try to help Milo solve his problems creatively. And sometimes when there's no time left on a production, tensions do get high, and it gets a little bit stressful because someone might feel like they're not being listened to, or they're being undervalued or ignored on what they're saying. It's kind of life. Every job has that. We're fortunate that we're able to study a craft and specialize. Like, that's kind of a gift and a luxury that I don't want to take for granted, because I know a lot of people break their backs every day. They wear out their bodies. By the time they're retired, they can't even walk anymore. That's terrible. I hate that for them, and I I can't do that myself. When I retire, I want to be able to walk around. Honestly, I really don't want to retire. I just want to keep getting better and keep doing more stuff, creating more art, learning new skills, teaching a little bit of what I do know. I don't want to be heard in this video that everything I say is the truth. I think it's good information, but you don't want to be me. I've gotten used to it and comfortable with it, and I'm pretty good at being me now, thankfully. But know that inside of my head and my heart, I'm trying every day to be a better person. I'm trying to help everyone else be a better person as well. I'm trying to help the world be a better place. And sometimes tensions get high when you start commenting on things. It might be a little bit like when you cook dinner and maybe you put too much spice or too much salt on the dish, and then when you give it to someone to eat and they say, "Oh, this is too salty." Even though you know that you oversalted that food, it still hurts for some reason. I don't know why. That's what you'll remember from that interaction instead of saying, "Maybe next time I won't put so much salt." That comment that might sting a little bit might be the only takeaway you get from that, instead of where it should just be like, don't use so much salt next time. But I'm looking forward to eating whatever you cook, and I'm looking forward to sharing whatever I make with you as well. Like, I want it to be a collaboration. I want it to be a super powerful, honest, friendly, and encouraging collaboration. I do have the goal of leaving no person behind. I want everyone to move forward. I want us to align our compasses. I want us to sync our watches, and I want us to keep going in the same direction. I don't want anyone to get angry and storm off and be lost. Truly, I don't. Most of that is like under the channel branding, where it could be applied universally to every video. But what I really have been loving to do is like make each video kind of unique in their own way, push the direction of the visuals further. I love doing it for Dark Roots, establishing something and building up. I'm still tweaking that and revising that, honestly, in the background. I really enjoyed doing it for Roanoke. I thought I did a good job of building out something that felt kind of old-timey, but also very modern and engaging. A little bit mystical, a little bit mysterious as well, because that's what everybody is, like the mystery of it, or is it? That one was really, really fun, the Halloween. I loved the Great Raft. I was super proud of how everything came together with that, the colors and the fonts, and it felt native to Louisiana in a weird way. And there were people in the comments who called that out and said that they appreciated it because it felt authentic to the region, which is really awesome, because I've never even been there, but I, take a good like survey of graphics and styles in different areas and different times and try to collage it into a cohesive thing to present as a framework sort of for each video. There's still other things that we want to work on and dial in more. I would love to get a more automated way to do a timeline where when we zoom in to the timeline, certain elements would pop up that are important to give us a sense of like where historical events happened, but then also be able to zoom out and some of these fade away so we can focus on what we're actually talking about. But something that's more interactive there, and I haven't found a way to get it so the editors can use the timeline and modify the range, the zoom level, and what's actually showing. Too much of that has become like the post production After Effects portion, and I'm just haven't gotten to solve that problem yet, but that's one I'm looking forward to solving. How does each video get defined? A lot of it is just me jumping in there once the rough cut is done and deciding what I want to do with the episode. I like to instill a sense of atmosphere and life and something bigger than just the words snap cutting onto the screen in a black background. So hopefully when you see the chapter cards and your title cards, you don't roll your eyes. You're like, oh, I gotta wait for 5 seconds to read these 3 words. Hopefully it tells a little bit more of the story. It makes it a little bit of a visual treat to look at that helps build and establish the setting, the mood, the vibe, the time, the era. And again, a lot of that is just informed by my own personal taste. I'm grateful to Milo that we've been able to continue building that over time, and nothing's locked in stone. We can revise things, and everyone has input and try to revise things, make things mostly legible. That's the most important thing, and clear and concise and correct. Personally, I love like the grungy existence of life. Things like coffee stains on paper, things like earmarked books and torn pages slightly, or words that are highlighted and notes written in the margin. Like that's the tangible, real feeling of actually learning in school, sort of. I always want to harken back to things that are real, just like real education. Sometimes I just throw in a good old Times New Roman because it's such a classic like textbook font, and I think it really helps lend credence and not quite gravitas, but lends itself to what everyone has read their whole life growing up. And it's been that way for a long time, like decades and decades. It's a classic font, but there's thousands of decisions made on every little frame, every little pixel, and hopefully it all comes out looking good. Some of my favorite grungy existences of life, it's almost like a mini archaeology on things, is when I was in grade school, we had the little checkout cards that went with the book. There was an envelope in the book with a checkout card at the library, and when you wanted the book, you would take that to the librarian. They would take out the card and they would stamp the card, they would stamp the envelope, and then they would keep the card and they would give you the book that has the envelope, so you could see the date you had to return it by, and they had the card for whatever. But just that chronicle of all the people who checked out the book at my grade school, we had to write down our names, but you could see going back like 20 years how many people checked out Where the Red Fern Grows or whatever book it was. That is just something really awesome, I think, because it's like, ooh, all these people know what I know if they read this book, or all these people were interested in the same topic that I was interested in. And that's something that I really feel good about. And I think that's kind of similar to the videos that we make, where we're all working on this video to share something with you guys, and you're sharing it with the rest of the world too. And I hope you get something out of it. I think there's a lot to get out of these videos. I don't think we get too preachy or lean too far away from what's socially acceptable. I wish we could go more in that direction, but we're trying to keep it a little bit open. We're not judgmental. We're just taking the situation as it is, and we say the truth, even though some people don't want to hear it. Kind of along the lines of that library card, I think that's something that might be totally lost with everything digital and online, is that we've kind of lost our connections with each other. We're being fed more and more what corporations know we want, which is very unfortunate. It's good because you can pick up a topic and like go with it really far just with online resources. But we're missing a large component of the community. This is something where I feel grateful, because this job, I do have a community of people that are at least somewhat interested in archaeology and education and working with Milo. So I feel like I'm regaining some of that, and it helps build up some energy and motivation for the rest. I'm not saying that watching a video isn't doing your part or you're not going to take anything away from it, but I want to start peppering in more things that are real inside of the video. I think it's really awesome when Milo's on set, and then we come back and we supplement it with studio sections to build out the rest of the narrative and educational content for the video. He does all that stuff and he does really great, and it's awesome. Like for the Great Hopewell Road, I decided to get some kinetic sand and a little toy tractor and kind of just do it in real life, like illustrate what Brad was talking about, because I knew I could do it in less amount of time and less effort, and it would show it more accurately and realistic. But also, I think when you see it and it's done with real life ingredients, it sticks in your brain a little bit more. It closes the educational circuit and it maybe cements more in your brain, but there's a lot of positive feedback to that shot, and it's encouraged me to look for other opportunities that we can start to implement this goal. I love this question. It's really great that someone appreciates the amount of work that goes into the video, because they're calling out a lot of decisions that were made, conversations that we had, directions we went. Some things we tried, some things haven't worked out. Sometimes it just takes a good revision and sitting with the work, but tons of that work is me. Decisions, sitting in this little room, quiet, uh, focusing on the computer screen and getting to business. I love this question. I still unfortunately see it as all over the place, not unified, and there's no set guidelines, and we're kind of flailing. But I still know that every video we have at least a groundwork to start with. We've got a font to start with, some colors to throw in there, some different things to try if we want, and it hasn't been starting from scratch every time. It's kind of building up with the Lego pieces we've been collecting. For Dark Roots, I had a really great opportunity to build that up from the ground, then do a mood board and do a brand guideline and everything. And that, while it's mostly just for me, it formed that whole show, that whole series inside of my brain, and I know it very well. I know it better than the current channel brand guidelines, but it's just cool. There's a lot of depth that you can add with the visuals, and I'm always working on trying to take them to the next level and play with them and have fun and have it be engaging for the viewer. All right. So what I might be obsessed with currently is this fishwife smoked trout. What I might be obsessed with currently is this fishwife smoked trout. This is something that I normally wouldn't buy, so someone bought it for me at like a gift shop or something. And then when my partner Mandy went out of town, I was able to open up this stinky eventual tin of fish and consume it, and it was really, really good. It was so good, in fact, that I ordered a whole fish sampler. So I thought I'd open it on screen. If you want to know another thing I'm obsessed with, it's a good knife. I really enjoy this. It's a Kershaw. I've stabbed myself with it plenty of times, and it's still sharp enough to keep cutting myself. So we're opening up the fish box. First, I've learned my lesson, so close my knife. Ah, safe. This lovely tin of fish. And when I open this up, there's a variety of other fish to try. We've got sardines preserved with lemon. We've got some smoked salmon, the smoked rainbow trout again, smoked salmon with Szechuan chili crisp, and albacore tuna with Spanish lemon. Now this is something that I normally don't buy. This is a splurge for Cale. I thought this company was also very interesting because they put so much work into the boxes and the art that I was curious what they would do for a bigger thing, and I'm really surprised. It didn't say that this was an actual tin, but I think I'm going to just kind of appreciate this artwork and this tin, and it can become, like grandma's button container, that old sugar cookie box for me. Apologies for the abrupt change in clothes. It's the next day because I'm still recording. I have a lot more to say. So hopefully this article of clothing color difference doesn't trigger you. Or my hair being in a man bun can trigger you for other reasons. You're welcome to be triggered by that. The other thing that I might be currently obsessed with is giving my dog good food. If this brand ever sponsors me, I would gladly promote it. Otherwise, I'll just say it's fresh food for a dog, and he really likes it. But we have noticed a difference in his energy, his motivation to eat, and his fur seems a little bit more full and lovely. The other thing I've been obsessed with is finding out what companies I don't ethically agree with and refusing to purchase things from them anymore. Just after COVID, I became a Diet Summit man. Instead of Diet Coke, you'll see me sipping on a Diet Summit, and it's great. Brought to you by Aldi. All you need is 25 cents to rent a cart, and you get great prices. I know drinking diet soda every day is not good for you. Doctors don't recommend it. Dentists don't recommend it. It's supposed to be a leading cause of cancer, perhaps, people say. If you're worried you won't get your aspartame fix if you switch to Diet Summit like me, don't worry, it's got it. Here's a drawing I did of Charlie. It's pretty good. I got his kooky nature and his demeanor quite well. Here's a Christmas gift my partner got for me. It's a book about sketching by James Gurney. He's a great artist. He even signed it for me. Look at that. To Cale, enjoy. From James Gurney. That's awesome. Thanks, James. Last year, I was introduced to this company called the Magic Puzzle Company, and they pay their artists to make beautiful artwork for them. But these are really cool puzzles where you assemble the larger puzzle, and each puzzle is a mini puzzle, and then you move those big pieces around. And then there's this extra envelope in there that has a secret middle solution to the puzzle. It's pretty awesome. I highly recommend. Every Christmas we like to clear off a table and do a puzzle together. Sometimes two, sometimes three. But I've been fortunate enough to have a little bit of extra spending money, so I was able to get the Magic Puzzle Company. Almost complete collection. Not quite everything, but now these puzzle pieces, they feel pretty premium. They're nice and sturdy. They don't smell like glue. They say that they try to remove all the puzzle shavings from the puzzle box, but they're still all over the place. Inside, it has a little envelope, and once you solve it, then there's a secret solve, like puzzle to the middle. And it feels really cool because there's little spy and folder ingredients to it. It's fun. Oh look, in here, it has a little checkout label like I was talking about for the library, where you could put your name and the date that you solved it and who you solved it with, which I think is lovely. This company provides 2 solution posters so you can follow it along. But when we do the puzzle at home, we are not allowed to look at the box anymore. We dump the pieces out and then we have to build the puzzle. We don't have anything to refer to. And that made this one particularly challenging because if you look, you can see that the left side is the same as the right side, and all these components kind of, like the Photoshop offset map effect, they kind of just scroll infinitely, and you can kind of start building in the wrong direction, especially if you're not looking at this poster, which don't look at the poster. Just do it yourself. Look at the box, be like, ooh, that looks like a cool one. The Crystal Caves, it was a cool one. and go for it. Some things we've made too simple. We've had to make it for the lowest common denominator, and I think we should make stuff harder, make it more difficult, earn those brain feels. Here's another thing I'm obsessed with: magnesium before I go to sleep. It's like putting detergent into your dishwasher before you run a load. It washes your brain a lot better when you sleep. It helps you get to sleep. It helps you stay asleep longer and more restful. It actually works. Would scrub brain with again. So someone might wonder, why am I making videos and not... Someone might wonder, why am I making videos with Milo instead of making videos myself? And it's more so, someone might wonder why I'm making videos with Milo instead of making them all by myself from the ground up, because I obviously have an interest and a passion for it. And my only answer is that I don't know why. Sometimes it's easier to do work where there are parameters defined and you can just execute on your ability. I see it as a good collaboration, more so than I'm working for Milo. We're both benefiting from working together. It's a good creative outlet because I'm kind of doing work that I would already be doing on my own as a passion project with Milo, so we both get to benefit from it. I get to learn from it, and we get to like build up this whole thing that you guys have been seeing the past few years. It is his show. I never want to take it over or have it be mine or like even see me as a side character, but I do want people to know that like I am a character. I'm a person behind the scenes, and I work hard for what I do to get the results that we do get. I've got feelings and I've got my own goals in life, and they're different from Milo's, but there's such an overlap. It just feels really healthy and beneficial to us both right now. And I'm going to keep going with it until I can't. It's a win-win situation for both of us because I'm kind of doing the work that I would already be doing just for fun. It makes me sound masochistic, which I kind of am. I like oxygen not included after all, but I just like learning. I love learning, and I really want to start teaching a little bit more. Last year, I did take up the torch and I taught motion graphics After Effects class at a university. And that was very insightful because times have changed. Kids' brains are different, and we got to get to them earlier and we got to keep them engaged longer because it's rough out there. There's so much misinformation, disinformation, manufactured content that just isn't real. The generative AI slop that's come out is super concerning. If I was just a kid, I'd be so confused and I wouldn't really trust anything anymore. Myself growing up, I would see a lot of historical art pieces on the wall in a photograph in a textbook, and that's how I experienced them for the most part. So I had the goal of going to the Louvre, and in 2010, I finally made it there. My sister took me, which was really awesome. But it was kind of cool to just see these things that have only been, a thumbnail picture in a book, to see it actually on the wall. Some of them are bigger than you thought. Some of them are smaller than you thought. It brought the artist back to the foreground for me because that's what I am. And I just thought it was really interesting how people can overtake our passions and kind of manipulate them, and that's what they're known for. And it's just kind of sad if you only experience artwork just in a book or a slide that's projected onto a wall. So it's important to see a lot of these things in real life, and why it's dangerous right now when there's so much content consumed through screens and you don't even know if that was captured with a real camera or not, or just, a text prompt. Now I want to get real. I want to give my thank yous. I've got a lot, so buckle up, Buttercup. So thank you. Thank you for watching our videos. Thank you for interacting with them. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for joining Patreon if you can afford it. Thank you for buying merchandise if you can afford it. It helps keep the ship afloat. It helps keep what we're doing possible. I know that every day when you log into your device, your computer, your laptop, the content you see, it might feel like the world is falling apart. And in some ways it is. But we're trying to put it back together. We're trying to understand what has happened in the past and apply that to lessons going forward in the future, where we could all learn from it, all benefit from the mistakes we've made in the past. We don't all have to experience burning our hands to know that fire is hot. I think it's super important, the work that we're doing, super valuable. I hope when you see one of our videos pop up on your feed that you get excited to click on it, that the message we bring to you is going to be honest, genuine, authentic, informative, fun, hilarious at times, but real. We want it to be real. Thank you for your patience as well while we work on stuff. We've worked really hard to post more regularly, but some videos just take longer to make that we didn't anticipate the workload. And we're very organic. We make mistakes all the time. We just try to fix them and learn for the next one. 2 weeks to you might seem like a long time between videos, but for us, we're working the whole time. And I want you to know that we are working, that Milo's always thinking, and he cares so much that the time it takes to make a video is not to keep you from watching them. It is because it just takes that much time for the cookies to bake, because they're going to be delicious. You love our cookies. You can't resist them. I hope that we can keep being a little lighthouse of joy or a video that you have saved. You can go back and watch the old videos and still re-experience those emotions as well. I think that's a very valid thing because everything we say does not have to be watched when it's brand new. Watch the old stuff. It's still good. It still applies. We're going to keep working to be the lighthouse of hope direction for where we want to take the world, where we think we could all do better, where we think we could all learn from past mistakes. We're always just one video away. Thank you. For real. Thank you. All right. And now I'd like to thank my mom. I'm going to try this again. So, I also want to thank my parents, my mom and my dad. In the 2 million subscriber video special, I talked about how my dad had passed away from brain cancer and that's been an ongoing thing. It showed me that time is short and we should make the best of it while we have it. We shouldn't save up our sick days. We should burn them right now. We should spend them with the people we love, doing the stuff we love, and fuck all the LinkedIn lunatics who are saying maximize your grind to get your cheddar. That's bullshit. Be with people you want to be with. Do the stuff you want to do and have fun with it. Otherwise, what's the point? My mom doesn't love these videos because Milo swears sometimes, and I tell her there's a First Amendment about that. We kind of argue and bicker, but I know that my dad would have loved these videos. He would have loved all the little jokes, all the little gags, all the little throwbacks to things that are historically accurate and just a modern take. He worked the night shift and he was always sending me random videos, and I just love to think about other people sending our video as the random video. One of the really cool things I've seen lately, just across my yard is my neighbor's house, and their son was watching a Miniminuteman video on their TV. I could see our video, my animation, playing on someone close by. It was so awesome and inspiring just to see that as an example that we are reaching the youth. Milo is connecting with the audience, that the youth are engaged, they are entertained, and they're learning things from us. So I want to keep us teaching. I want to keep getting better. We're doing it. Next, I'd like to thank my partner, Mandy, for putting up with my bullshit. I know that there have been a lot of growing pains with me finding a foot place and a direction to go, but you've been infinitely patient, encouraging. You've been infinitely encouraging, ceaselessly patient, and wonderfully available to hear any stupid problem I'm having. I also want to thank the team. The team's changed over the years. I haven't always been there, but I've been there a long time. I've gotten to know them as coworkers, as friends, and more so as family. We've shared some things and we cover each other's butts. We pick each other up when we fall and we get stuff done. We've worked really well together. We've grown together. We've evolved together, and that's been awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for working so hard on every video. I know we don't have as much time as we all probably want, and that's okay. What we get done with the amount of time that we have is great. It's such good work. I'm so proud of it. I really am. I hope you are too. Be proud. For every project, there's the phase of discovery of the total workload, there's the grind to get that all done, and then there's the crunch at release where we have to fine tune everything and polish it. Thank you for doing each and every part of those jobs. It's been so inspiring to see it happen every week. We've done great, and we're only getting better. So, team, will you be a my polycule? And finally, I'd really like to thank Milo. Thank you, Milo. Thanks for inviting us on this adventure with you. I work really, really hard to keep you surprised, proud. I know I'm not your dad. I know I'm not your brother. In a lot of ways, I feel like both, but I just try to be your friend. Sometimes I feel like my job is to show the world how you have taught me. I know there's a part of me that wants to keep you safe from how the world can be. I always want you to stay true. Your approach to teaching people It's really your wit and your charm, your humor and your good nature that carries the message through. We always talk about how it'd be awesome to do a whole animated episode and do this and do that. I wouldn't care if we only did one video a year. I'd still be there with you, helping you make it. I really see the work that we do as a stepping stone and an example that other people can follow of practicing what you preach, picking up after yourself, leaving the world a better place than when you found it, staying curious, staying inquisitive. I don't know if people know, but most videos just come from Milo going somewhere, reading a placard at a state park, and saying, I want to learn more about this. I want to understand this better. I want to share this with other people. And that's awesome. There's no other words for it. It's awesome. We have to encourage that. We have to keep that going. I want to keep that fire in your belly lit. I want to keep improving and getting faster myself so we can make more and more things. And I want to keep building our community. I want to keep building our goals, our outreach to other educational institutions, or doing the tours and meeting people. It's awesome. So we're doing it. I'm proud of everything we've done. I'm proud of what you've done, Milo. Keep it up. Keep it up. And next, I'd like to thank the CEO of YouTube themselves, Mrs. YouTube. Thank you. All right, folks, we made it to the end. Thanks for joining me. Go ahead and subscribe. Like it if you liked it. Hopefully you learned some new stuff. You felt some new things. Made you think about the people behind the screen of all the videos you watch. Hopefully you got some good takeaways, inspiration, advice. Ask any questions you want and I'll try to answer them. Thank you for joining me and I hope to see you soon. Boom, 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 boom. I got more work to do. All right, we're not sure what other people are going to say. I want to say thanks to SJ for making the shot list and doing the pre-cut. I want to say thanks to Josh for doing all the funny jokes at the end that make it watchable and sustainable and there's no down spots. Thank you to Smalls for doing some research on every little video. Thank you to Kayla for churning and chugging through all the Mogrits, as painful as they are to do, and for your assistance on maps. You do a really good job. And I want to thank Z for doing a great job with the new merch. I think it looks great. Thank you, John Franco, for doing a good job in establishing such a good base for us to all build off of. Thank you to everybody else that helped us get kickstarted on everything. Looking forward to do you proud. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a Patreon, a YouTube membership, or just buy me a coffee links. But if you like what I've made today and you want to see more of it and you'd like to say so in the questions I answer next, hit me up on one of those links and I'll do my best to keep providing good information so you can steer your own ship. No matter what, thank you for your eyes, your ears, and your attention. Have a great day.